Hello everyone, this is Jessie. I haven't made a video here in about 9 years, so I thought that I would like to give you an update on my life, what has been going on. I left the Jehovah's Witnesses together with my family in 2016, so it's 10 years this year. Best thing that I have ever done in my whole life, but also the hardest thing I've ever done. But this video is not supposed to be about that topic, because I now know why I found Jesus Christ in the right time in my life. 7 months ago, in the 16th of August last year, me, my husband, and my children went through the worst thing that any family can go through, especially parents. I would like to share with you what happened to my beautiful son, Emil. When he was 20, he got interested in motorcycles. My husband hadn't been riding a motorcycle for 20 years. And all of a sudden my son came home and said, "Mom, Dad, I'm gonna take a motorcycle license." And we were just okay, because he had a job, he had an income, and we knew that he was interested in motorcycles, and he's been talking about it for a while. And so my husband looked at him and said, "But Emil, you don't have anybody to drive with. I haven't been riding a bike in 20 years. Then I have to buy a bike too." So what happened was that my husband, of course, who loves his son so much, went to this shop that sells motorcycles, and my son got to try out different kinds of bikes, and he finally found a Yamaha R7, a black one, beautiful bike, and he was so excited. He was sitting there, and my husband said, "Well, if that's the bike you want, why not just go for it? I'm gonna help you." And then my husband scratched his head and said, "Well, I'm gonna need a bike too, because you need someone to drive with." So he also got a bike, and these two, father and son, they had so much fun with these bikes. And my son finally got his license, and he was the happiest kid in the world. He brought home a big cake to celebrate with us, and he was smiling, and he got so many friends through this interest in riding bikes. Beautiful young people, older people with different kinds of bikes that were getting together, out riding, going out having an ice cream, taking pictures of the sunset, and he was having the time of his life. And last year in January, my son got his first own apartment, and he was a little bit sad, because he really is like a family guy. He likes to be here with his family, and this is his comfort zone. But he was also excited having his own place, and we were helping him getting furniture and setting it up. And me as a mom put up his curtains, and I made it nice for him, and we were putting everything together there in his apartment. And he moved in. Everything was going great. He was working and doing good, very good, and we were so proud of him. And he was going to be 23 in 2025. And he was having he had one thing that he really dreamt of, and that was meeting a girl, because he said, I'm only out with the guys riding bikes. I don't have time for dating. And in June last year, he met this beautiful blonde, so natural and sweet girl. Just accidentally bumped into her at a gas station when he was riding his bike together with some friends, and she was standing outside with her car, and she saw him, and they were starting to communicate, and they fell in love. I'm now going to get to the point why I couldn't get any sleep tonight, because I was having this on my heart that I needed to share this with you. In the 16th of August, it's a beautiful summer day. The sun was shining. Me and my husband, we were out doing in the garden, and we were cutting the grass, and we were just about to go shopping for food, because we have had there was a long summer holiday, and on the Monday the following week the school started, and we were supposed to go with our little smallest one, she's 12, to buy some things for school. And this was on a Saturday. We were gonna go shopping, and this was in the morning. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and we knew that our son was gonna be on a big ride out with his bike together with a lot of friends. They were gonna go cruising, and then later on that evening he was gonna go home to his girlfriend, who lives a little bit more south in another town. And he was so happy. He was so full of so much fun things that he was going to do that day, and all of a sudden we heard a bike further down here on the road. So we were texting him to drive safely, have a nice day, and please take care, and that was it. And we were just getting ready to go shopping. So our little daughter, she's 12, she said, I'm going to go out and wait in the car until you come back, until you say that we're ready to go. And we said, yes, we're going to be ready in just 1 second. And I stepped out on the porch, and there was a police car coming, pulling up on our little road. So I went inside and I said to my husband, there is a police car coming. And my husband said, please wait here. I'm going to go out and see what this is all about. So I watched him from the window inside the kitchen. I was looking out and I see 3 policemen coming out of the car. And they were looking really serious. And I saw them talking to my husband. And then all of a sudden he comes in through the door, and he just says, Emily's dead. He died in a motorcycle crash. And I was like, no. You're lying. It can't be true. We just heard him like an hour ago. And this policewoman, she came up to me, and she and I grabbed her. You know, they have this like the kind of safety vest, and I grabbed them and I said, please tell me that this is not true. This can't be true, please. It's my son. It's my only son. And the policewoman, she was calming me, and she said, I'm sorry. We need to sit down and we need to talk. And then my little girl, she loved her brother so much. The policeman opened the car, and he said, you need to come out because there's something happened to your brother. And she was like, no, not my brother, he's my everything. And And then we went in here into the house, and we were in shock, and we were just sitting staring at each other. And we were like, and I told the policewoman that I'm not good at this. I'm just good at being a mom. I don't know how to cope with this. I don't know how to do this. And then we were sitting there, and I literally felt that Jesus Christ was sitting with us. He was right among us, comforting us. And then they asked us if we wanted to go to the hospital to see Emil. And we said, yes, we want to see him, please. So we drove behind the police car into the hospital, and we got to wait in a room together with a policeman. And then they asked us if we were ready to come in and see, and we said okay. And they were opening the door slowly, and Emil was lying in a bed with his hands on his chest, and he looked like he was sleeping. And we went in there, and there were candles burning around him, and we saw his beautiful face with his thick brown hair. And my husband was kissing his forehead, and he was putting his cheek to his cheek, one side, on the other side. He was still warm, but his hands were starting to be cold, and his face. And he had a little bit of blood coming out from his ear. And my husband went down on his knees and he prayed to Jesus to please take care of our son. He was the sweetest boy. He was a beautiful boy. He was so full of life and humor. And now he was just lying there. And we knew that there was nothing we could do to get him back. And to stand there as a parent, look at the child that you once carried in your womb as a mom. And he had the whole life in front of him. He just met this beautiful girl. He was so in love with her. And he had everything. And then this accident came. What happened was that he came a little bit too fast into a corner, and there was a car meeting him, and he leaned over too much with his bike, so he came in a really high speed right into a fence, so he died instantly. He broke his neck. And if I hadn't had the faith in Jesus Christ, I really don't know what I would do. And I'm going to tell you what happened after that. We were in so much shock. We had to drive. Okay, the thing is that Emil has got one sister. She's turning 21. She's just on the accident happened on a Saturday, and on the Thursday she went to Greece with two of her best friends. She had been saving up for a trip that she was looking so much forward to. And Emil was texting her on the Friday, asking her how warm it was there and if everything was okay with her, and to please have a nice vacation, because he knew how much she wanted to do this with her friends. So she wasn't home when this happened. So we had to go home to my husband's mom, and she was home in her apartment. We rang the doorbell, and she came down, and she saw that we were really serious. And so she thought that there was something happening with our dog, or she was like, what's going on? Why you look so sad? What's happened? And my husband said, please, Mom, would you just go inside? Would you please sit down? And she said, no, why? What's happening? Please stop this. This is not funny. She said, what's happening? So we asked her to sit down, please. And then my husband took her hand, and her grandchildren are her everything. So my husband said, Mom, you need to take a deep breath, because what I'm going to tell you is going to be the hardest news you've ever heard in your whole life. And he said that Emil was out riding his bike early on this morning, and he fell, and he didn't make it. She said, no, it can't be true. And my husband said, Mom, it is true. Now we need to be strong. And she was like, no, that is not true. It was so painful to see her. Just crushed her heart. And then when she had settled a little bit, she was taking pictures of Emil and putting them on the table. She was lighting up like 10 candles in front of them. And now we knew that we needed to call our oldest daughter, who was in Greece, because we know how internet works. It goes really fast if you have news about things that are happening. Okay, so we tried to call her, and she didn't answer, and we tried to call her on WhatsApp, and finally she answered, and she was like, we're just getting ready to go out and eat. What's the fuss about? And we said to her, do you have your friends by your side? And she said, yes, of course. Would you please tell them to stand beside you, like hold you? And she was saying that, what is going on? Mom, what's going on? And then I said to her, your brother Emil, he had an accident with his motorcycle. I'm sorry, Isabel, but he didn't make it. And the scream that she made was so heart-wrenching. She was like, no, my brother, this can't be true. And she was so many miles away. I couldn't hug her. I couldn't do anything but just comfort her and say that everything went really fast. He wasn't in any pain or anything. And her friends were fantastic. They were taking care of her. They were talking about taking a plane home. But Isabel, she said that, I know that Emil wanted me to have this trip. I'm going to stay the week. I'm going to do the best I can. And the thing is that when my kids were small, they used to listen to music together, and sometimes they played on the piano. And one of the songs that my son liked was the song with Scorpions, The Wind of Change. And when Isabel was going out that night, they had to eat something. They played The Wind of Change in the restaurant. So she felt that Emil was like telling her in a way that he was okay. And then she said that it's so funny because there are no animals here. There used to be birds, and why is it so empty of animals? And then when she looked up, there was a white dove sitting right above her head. Anyway, I'm so sorry. It's not so easy to talk about this without crying. But the thing is that there were a lot of special things happening after Emil's accident. First of all, his friends were fantastic. All of his bike friends, they were like calling us and texting us, and they said, we've got strong arms and strong hands. We can come and help you with anything you need. If there's anything we can do, please let us know. So people got to show so much love and comfort to our family. And we were walking around in the middle of the night, me and my husband. We couldn't eat or anything. We were walking around under the stars. We were like talking up to the heaven and saying, please help us. And then I was asking Jesus for a sign to know that Emil was okay. Like if there could be like a star falling or a bird coming up to me or some kind of sign to let me know that he's okay. And nothing happened. And I was scared. And on the third day after the accident, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and right before I woke up, I had this kind of a vision that I was Emil. I could feel like I was him, and I could feel that I was traveling through this dark tunnel, damp tunnel, with like arms stretching out, trying to grab and hold me back. And it was scary. And then after a while, I saw a light. And then it got brighter and brighter and brighter. And then when it came to the end, it was so bright and warm. And I understood, and all of a sudden I was filled with so much warmth in my chest, like someone took like beeswax and poured it right into my chest. And that was when I knew that Emil his travel was over, that he was with Jesus now, because Jesus was in the grave for 3 days. And the heavens that we can see where the airplanes fly, and when you can see the clouds, that's not where Jesus is. He's much further out. You have to pass 1, 2, and 3 heavens before you reach your destination. And I stood up, and I got in and took a shower, and then I took our dog and I went out and walked with him, and I felt so calm. I felt peace, and that was the sign that I was looking for the whole time. Peace. And then after that morning, I had to go to the dentist because I had a dentist time, and this was on the Monday morning, and it was like 7:40 in the morning. I really did not feel like it, but I thought that if I don't take this time, I'm gonna have to wait like 3 months, and I really needed to fix the tooth that I had. So I was sitting there in the waiting room, and there was this young man sitting there with a baseball cap, and I was like this close to just running up and hug him because he looked a little bit like my son. But I didn't. I was like, I have to do this. So I went in and there was this young dentist, a male dentist, and I was so close to crying, but I looked up. I was like, I have to do this. I cannot cry right now with all this stuff in my mouth. I need to do this. And then when everything was finished, I sat up in that dentist chair. And then I said, I'm sorry, but I need a hug because I lost my son this 2 days ago and I really miss him. And the dentist, he looked at me and he said, come here, sweetheart. And he hugged me. And the nurse, the dentist nurse, she hugged me too, and the three of us were standing together. And then he said, I do not want you to go and pay for your visit, so I'm going to send you I'm going to send you a check, and then I'm going to let you out the back door. So he did. And then we have this big beautiful white church here in our town, and I thought that I'm going to go in there and I'm going to light a candle for my son. And when I came up to this big wooden door, the door was closed, and he said, Monday's closed. So I sat down on the bench and I was crying. And there was this lady that was working on the graveyard, and she saw me and she was like, hello, are you okay? Can I help you? And I stood up and I said, I'm just so sad because I lost my son. I lost my son in an accident this Saturday, 2 days ago, and I was just wanting to go into the church and light a candle for him. And she said, oh my goodness, what are you saying? As she was throwing away the tools that she was working with, and she hugged me and she just stood there and she just held me. She said, you just wait. You just sit here and you just wait. I'll be right back. And then she came with the keys and she opened up the church for me. So I was walking in by myself in this beautiful church, and the sunbeams were coming through this beautiful window. And I went in there in front of the cross and I went down on my knees and I said, Jesus, please help me. Please help me live through this. And then I said to the woman who let me into the church, I said, can I please call my husband and my little daughter, but they're home and they need to come here. And she said, yes, of course, you do that. So they came, and then there was like these 3 beautiful women from the church. They made coffee and they had some biscuits and some strawberry juice for my little daughter, and we were sitting there for 3 hours and talking to those beautiful women about our son, and they wanted to know all about him. And it was beautiful to see how people just opened up their hearts to us. And then came all the hard work. We had to go into his apartment. We saw his shoes and all his clothes, and he had just been washing, so we had put up the laundry to dry, and he had just shopping, food and things. And we had to gather all this stuff and put them in bags and take them home here and empty all of his apartment with his furniture that he was so happy about, and all his things. And it was just so sad, so sad. And I'm just saying that if I didn't have the faith in Jesus Christ, I truly do not know what I would do. I carry my cross, and I carry the letter E. It stands for Emil. And I just want to tell everyone that whatever you go through, if you go through it together with Jesus, you can do it. Because he promises us that whatever we have lost, he will give it back to us. So with this, I just want to say that there is hope, and that the sun still goes on shining, and there is not 1 second that goes by that I don't think about my beautiful boy. But I'm happy that he was happy. When this accident happened, he had found the love of his life. He had an interest that, for those of us who ride, I ride bikes too. My husband is riding. Everyone out there who rides motorcycles knows the freedom, the passion, the power of the speed, the smell. All your senses come to life. I'm so happy that he spent 22 years in a loving family where we all found the true light in Jesus. And that he was happy. He had a job. He had everything. He had love. So I'm saying thank you for listening to this story. We keep on thriving. We keep on fighting. We will never give up, because we know that one day, maybe not so far away, we will get his hugs again, those special ones, where he always rubbed his hands on your back when he was hugging us. I know that Jesus has put him together again, as perfect as he was. And for all of you guys who are struggling out there, if you let Jesus Christ into your heart, he will fill you with his peace and his love, and he will assure you that he will make everything new again. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to my story. And I'm never gonna give up. Thank you so much.